Hi everybody, welcome to the Wayward Skein. This is episode 71, I believe. My name is Lynn, and this is my insanity. As you can see, that extends to my hair. I took a shower. So, there we are. So I don't, that's not true, I do have finished. It is some cross stitch. So I finished my, I'm not a hot mess, I'm a spicy disaster. I know it's backwards, I know. I haven't figured that out yet. So anyway, I picked up this Leisure Arts kit at Michael's. Sorry, I'll just stick my face behind it. So this was the first time I had done a cross stitch in probably 6-7 years. It was a kit. I haven't put it in the hoop yet because I've never done that before, and I'm a little scared to ruin it, so I'm holding off on that for now. And I will tackle that when I have a little more desk space. My desk is an absolute mess, and I need to clean it up. So there we are. This is going to drive me absolutely bonkers. Sadly, I don't have a hair tie lying around because I left it in the bathroom after I got out of the shower. But we'll see what we can do. So that is my only finished object. I've got several works in progress, 2 of which you haven't seen before. So I have put probably 15 repeats on my Nettle Grove. Ooh, and that color is coming out perfect. So the yellow kind of gets lost in this. This is yellow, orange, and green. Sorry, that's the back side. It's yellow, orange, and green, and the yellow kind of gets lost because it's sort of between the orange and the green. But I promise you it's there. Unfortunately, yeah, you're not going to get a good picture of that, unfortunately, because it's very dark. I do have my little light here, but it's, there we go, that's a little bit better. So it doesn't show up the yellow as well, but it is in there. So I was here the last time you saw it. It's a diagonal scarf, so that was the repeat I had ended on. And I've added all of this. And I'm still only 30% of the way, roughly. I didn't yet, but I like the when, sorry. So, way to go, Einstein. Don't measure the ball before you start recording. So we're going to do it while you're watching me. So I have, ooh, I'm further along than I thought I was. I thought I was only 30% along, but I'm actually it just froze on me, but hopefully that didn't freeze for you. So I have 63 grams of this 100-gram ball left, which is a lot further along than I thought I was. So yay. That is the Nettle Grove Diagonal Scarf by Vanessa Ewing. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I've been sort of destashing on a lucky dip sort of system where I just grab a ball out of the stash and then just find a pattern to go with it. So this is going to be a lot longer than I thought I was going to be. I thought maybe I'd end up with 6 feet of scarf. At 6 feet of scarf. And I've only used up 2/3 of the ball. It's going to be a very long scarf. But that's okay because I kind of intended it to be sort of a summer fall accessory as opposed to a warm scarf. This is knit out of Fiddlesticks Knitting Country Silk. The color is called Summer Glow. It's more fall colors really, but it's called Summer Glow. So I'm just going to see if, yeah, so that's the orange, that's the green, and this is the yellow here. So it's really, really subtle. Orange, green, yellow. And then more green and more orange. So it's a very subtle shift from the orange to the yellow and the yellow to the green. I think the yellow is sort of meant to bridge the gap between the two. I bought this at, I want to say, what are they called? Just Knitting, I think, is a little store that used to be a storefront in Carlton Place. And now she's just an online business. So very, very nice lady whose name I've forgotten. I know her personally and I've forgotten her name. So people who I don't know that I forget your names, do not be offended because I forget everybody's name. It's one of those sort of blank things in my brain that just kind of poof, disappears. My brain does not consider it important information apparently. And people's names and faces just go plain as day. Hoping, I mean, it's one of those projects that I bring with me because I don't need a pattern anymore. I can just do it. So it's in the car when I'm waiting for something or at the office during my lunch break type of knitting. Office 2 days a week, which is awful, but I've missed being in the office. I've missed my coworkers, but I'm not enjoying the commute and the having to schlep everything every time because we're not allowed to leave anything there. We are going to have permanent workstations, but they are shared. So other people are going to be working there when I'm not. Anyway, space. I miss having my filing cabinet. I miss a mug if I want to make tea. It's a pain in the butt. So, which reminds me that my mug is still in my work bag and I need to take it out and wash it so that I can use it here. I can't use it here right now because my kettle died. Last Monday, I sent Zach out to the kitchen to start the kettle so I could make myself some tea. And he came back in and he's like, Mommy, the kettle's dead. The little switch to turn it on and off was no longer functioning. So I no longer have a kettle, which is very, very sad. I said this in a chat room that I'm a part of, and all the British people are like, oh, and all the American people are like, who has a kettle? It was very funny because it was very evenly divided. The Brits were all like, oh, no kettle. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to boil my water on the stove like a Philistine. It's just not the same. So that's what I've been doing. I've been making tea on the stove like I did at the hotel the last time I was stateside. So, yeah, long. I picked these up at Walmart because I was tired of knitting it on a very, very short 16-inch circular. It was cramping my hands up. The straights are a little bit better. I was hoping for plastic needles, but because I wanted something shorter. I wanted something about that long, but with ends, because I had been doing it on DPNs before. I'd been using my marbles. I've lost my marbles. I've been using these DPNs, which are really getting blown out, but they're so pretty. They're the marbles from Knitter's Pride. They're so pretty. I'm just trying to get past the little bright light. So these are, the thing is that every now and then I'd lose a couple of stitches off the end and then I'd have to like recuperate them. So I wanted something with ends. I couldn't find short 7s in my stash. I went to Walmart trying to find short plastic ones. They had size 8, they had size 9, they only had these in the 7, which is longer than I wanted, but it's working out. I was very unhappy with them when I first bought them because they were very rough here. But with and they're actually going quite nicely. I'm actually enjoying knitting with them. They're fairly pointy for a wooden needle. They're pretty good. So I've been using those. My second work in progress, I hadn't even cast on the last time I talked to you guys. I have been trying to make my nibblings, it's my nieces and nephews, I call them nibblings. Their nana passed away last year. So I've been trying to make something for each of them out of their nana's yarn because I inherited her stash, being the only other knitter. And so I've been trying to find something to make for each of Nana's stash. I've made most of a bunny that I just haven't assembled yet because I really suck at amigurumi. But for the next kid, I wanted to make something a little different. It's not finished yet. I have the button bands and the sleeves to still do. This is called the Dixon Cardigan by House of Galt. Galt House of Yarn, I'm sorry. Galt House of Yarn. So again, it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I taught myself a new skill for this one. I taught myself a tubular cast on and the sewn tubular bind off, which is very stretchy. On either side, and there's some on the back. They're mirrored, which makes me happy. I didn't make any mistakes on the cables, which makes me super happy. There's a couple of stitches near the bottom. Let's see if I can find one now. There were a couple of stitches where I didn't quite catch all the strands. So this is a freebie pattern, and I am knitting it out of Red Heart Super Saver. Stripes is the stuff. This is what's left. So this is going to be the sleeves, the button bands, and whatever's left over is going to go into that bin right there, which holds my Granny Squirrel blanket project. It is Red Heart Super Saver Stripes in the Cool Stripes colorway, which is number 7330, I think. Or 406, is that a 9? 496, God, I need new glasses. 496, I'm having to play trombone here to be able to read it. So it is made out of this, which is a lovely combination of, it's coming up a lot bluer than it is. It's greens, teals, blues, and a very, very dark blue that's almost purple. So I got the body done. I finished the tubular bind off last night, which was, it's kind of like doing Kitchener stitch, so it's not that hard, but it is fiddly, and it took me a while. Sorry, I touched something and now I'm itchy. So I started this on Saturday, last Saturday, the 21st, sorry. And it was kind of funny because I was looking for yarn to put the sleeves on, and I just grabbed this skein of purple acrylic that I had, and apparently I had done something like 300 stitches of slip stitch, chain stitch, and I just wrapped it around the ball because I couldn't undo it. The last stitch was caught, so I couldn't undo it. So I actually used the chain stitch sleeves because it's thicker and it's going to come out more easily, and it's going to be easier to slide the needles onto the sleeves on. It's actually made a really nice, I really like it. I think I'm going to do that from now on. I'm just going to grab whatever cheap acrylic is lying around and chain stitch something to put my waist yarn, my stitches on. So this is 4.0 millimeter needles, so 4 millimeter needles. I wove in my end at the bottom, but I did not wave in my beginning end here. I'll probably do that after I do the button band because it is rolling quite a bit, quite a bit. I mean, it's acrylic and it's stockinette stitch, so of course it's going to roll. But yeah, these stripes, isn't that cool? So I am very much enjoying this, for all that it is Red Heart Super Saver, and that is not something I would ever buy myself. But I have quite a bit of it in my stash that I've been. So this is a cardigan for my, I'm really hoping it fits her. It's either for my 10-year-old niece or for my 5-year-old niece, whichever one it fits the body on. Because I did only knit the body to about 16 inches. So it might be a little cropped on the older niece. So it might be for the little one. We'll have to see. They're going to have to try it on. And I want them to try it on before I start sleeves so that I know how long to make the sleeves. But anyway, like body-wise, they're about the same size. My 10-year-old niece is very, very petite, like very tiny. So I think this will fit her. I did measure to my brother's measurements. He said her back was 17 inches from the nape of her neck to her tailbone. So I'm hoping this fits her. But she'll have to try it on. And if it doesn't fit her, it'll be her for her little sister. And I've got plenty more yarn from Nana to make her something else. I can even make her another one of these, just bigger. So, yeah, this worked up really, really quickly. As you can see, I did this in a week while knitting other things. So it did not take very long at all. And I'm very much liking it. I like the stripey. I mean, I'm never going to love Red Heart Super Saver, but it's not bad for something that they're kids, right? So I didn't want my sister-in-law to have to hand wash this stuff. She's got 3 of them, and she already has more than enough laundry. Well, they have more than enough laundry to do, because I'm sure my brother occasionally does laundry, probably. So I wanted it to be easy to take care of. I wanted everything that I gave them to be easy to take care of and not be some, you know, fancy heirloom piece that she couldn't throw in the washing machine. So that's why this is out of the Red Heart Super. Well, that and it's Nana's yarn. Nana didn't knit with wool. She only knit with acrylic, it seems. So I'm perfectly okay with that. What doesn't get used will be given away. I have a big bag of crochet thread that is actually going to my best friend's house because I have no use for it, and she goes through it like candy. So because she does she does bobbin lace. So she actually uses this stuff, and so it's going to get. I don't crochet thread. I barely crochet yarn. So anyway, that is my second work in progress. Sorry, I said this was on 4mm needles, which is US 6 for the ribbing, and the rest of the sweater is done on a 5mm needle, which is US 8. I've been watching so many podcasts lately, and people are like, oh, this lives in this bag, and this lives in this bag. Everything lives on my desk. I am not a project bag person. I have a bunch of project bags, but I don't use them unless I'm going somewhere, and I desperately want to bring something complicated with me that I can't just grab and go. So anyway, I'm hoping to finish that. You're not going to see it next week, probably the week after, because I'm not here next week. I'm going to be somewhere else, but we'll figure that out. So the last thing that I have on the needles, I started a pair of gloves. And you may recognize these if you've been watching me for a while, because I knit the mitten version of this. So this is about where the patterning goes. So this beautiful thing is the Naughty Gloves by Julia Mueller. I actually did the mittens that had been adapted by somebody else a few years ago. I have misplaced those mittens. These gloves are not for me, but that's okay. So I'm on the thumb. I just finished the thumb gusset increases for the right mitten, the right glove rather. So we'll see how the rest of that goes. I kept thinking I should cast on the second one and get started on that and be ready for when I'm finished with this one. But it's in a ball, so I can't. Yeah. So this is Seaport sock yarn that I bought at Rhinebeck in 2014. The color is called charcoal. It's more of a dark purple than a charcoal. Like it's very purpley. It's not going to show up on the camera because it's very dark. We'll see if we can. Yeah, there it looks charcoal, but it's actually a dark purple. It's sort of a cross between a purple and a gray, but I'm loving the stitch definition on this. These cables were a nightmare to do in very dark yarn because most of my knitting time is in the evenings when it's already dark outside. As you can see, the lighting in here is not great. So yeah, these cables were a bit of a nightmare. I had started this on my little stubby needles that I bought at Garden State Festival, Fiber Producers Festival, something like that I was at in September. So I bought these little stubby 4-inch needles. I had started on that, but it was I guess they're 5 because they're only an inch shorter than this one. But I find these really difficult to knit with, especially for cables and stuff like that. So I did switch to my carbons at one point. So I'd say halfway through the first glove because the fingers are going to be very long and time consuming. I'm hoping to finish these by next Sunday. We'll see. You will likely only get a picture of the finished product because they will be, if I finish them next week, they will be given away next week and you won't see them again. So I'm hoping to get a picture of the finished gloves, perhaps on hands, and yeah, so that's my insanity that I'm trying to accomplish in a week. I did this in 3 days because I started these on Wednesday. I knit on them Wednesday and Thursday. I didn't touch them Friday. I barely touched them yesterday. So I did up to here on Thursday night, and then I did the rest of this today. So I am going gangbusters on it. I'm pretty confident I'll be able to get them done, at least by the time I leave where I'm going. If not, by the time I get there, it'll get done. So that is my last work in progress. I can speak. Really, I can. No, I can't. You all know this. I did add 1 square to my blanket. This one, it's one of the minis that I purchased from Sueger on Etsy, Sueger. Her name is actually Sue. Sorry, I got the envelope right here. Sue Geraldus, I'm not sure. She is from Alberta. She sells random grab bags of minis on Etsy, and I bought one and I love it. And I've only managed to add 1 square so far because I've obviously been busy with other things, and now I've lost that square. Where'd it go? There it is. Ta-da. So this is the only square I've added. They're random minis. I don't know what any of them are, which is fine. I'll live. You all know how anal I am, but I will be okay with not knowing what these are. This one was a very workhorse feeling type yarn, so I'm suspecting it's probably a regia of some sort. That's what it feels like anyway. So we'll see how that goes. That is my last work in progress. So one thing that is going to be coming back into rotation as soon as I finish one of the projects is my... Is that the back? Of course it is. That's the back. So this is my linen stitch scarf. It is being done out of Patons Decor in Sand and Sea, which is the multicolored, and in Red Heart Tray Chic, which is the brown one. The brown one doesn't have a colorway name. So this is based on Mimi's Linen Stitch Scarf by Mimi Cod. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, of course. Some of the things I knit are paid for, but very few of them. I'm cheap, and unless I've bought the book or have like really wanted the pattern, I generally don't purchase them. So I've left the ends very, very long so that I can sort of, I don't know if I'm going to tassel them or what I'm going to do. We'll see. But yeah, so this is going to be coming back into rotation soon. There's the linen stitch. I love linen stitch. It's so pretty. And this is all Franklin Habit's fault. Franklin, I blame you. Franklin does not watch my podcast, but we are friends on Facebook. So Franklin is knitting himself a linen stitch scarf. And Franklin knits a lot faster than I do and seems to have a much larger attention span. So I got bored and moved on to other things very, very quickly. I'm not following any set pattern. I'm just kind of switching the colors when I feel like. Sometimes it's every 2 rows. Sometimes it's every 3 rows. Whatever. And there goes my alarm to take my medication. Sorry. My bad. I usually don't record this late. So the Sand and Sea is here. I acquired this when I first started knitting. I had bought 2 balls to do a scarf because all I was knitting was scarves at the time. And here is the tray sheet. So this is, come on, all of you. It apparently got unraveled a little bit. So this one is a slightly thicker yarn, and has slightly less yardage. And this one is slightly thinner and has a lot more yardage, which is why I'm doing 2-3 rows of this for every row of this, so that they kind of finish up at the same time. Sorry, I know I'm creating like massive shadows on my face here. So yeah, these were just 2 random balls of acrylic that I had in my stash that I bought when I first started knitting in like 2008, 2009. So yeah, I bought these to make scarves out of, and I didn't. So I think I used some of this to make a sweater at one point for some baby with some other color, I think maybe dark blue. I haven't used any of this. And so I decided that it was time for it to be knit up and find a home. So we shall see. This might go to my daughter. It might go to one of the nibblings. It might go to charity. I'm not sure. I haven't seen if anybody is interested in having it yet. So those are the 2 yarns I'm using. And that is also on a 4.5 millimeter needle, which is US 7, because all my projects are in US 7. I don't know why. Oh yeah, these are on my usual sock yarn, which is a 1.5 millimeter needle, 2.5 millimeter needle, which is US 1.5. And that just fell on the keyboard, so hopefully that didn't do anything. So that is coming back into rotation soon. That's the back again. That is coming back into rotation soon. As soon as I finish 1 or 2 of the other projects. I started this in May of last year and very quickly got bored with it, so hopefully I'll be able to sustain some interest in it now that I am actually knitting regularly again. So that is it for work in progress. Future plans, I don't know if you guys check out Kate at Hawthorne Cottage Craft Podcast, but she is running a Lucky Dip Cal for the year, where you're supposed to take random skeins from your stash, put them in paper bags, and every month you pick one. This is how I've been doing my stash down for the last year and a half-ish. I just grab something out of my stash, no matter how many balls it has, whether it's 150, whatever. Nothing has 50. But I've just been picking random things out of my stash, finding a pattern for them and just knitting it. And it either gets given away, it gets, sorry. Shh. I should turn the sound off, which I have done now. Should have done that the first time. So yeah, I've just been picking random things out of my stash to make things out of. And so that's what all 3 of those projects are. The sweater, the linen stitch scarf, and the, what is this called again? The Nettle Grove scarf. The only thing that is not what I did was the gloves, because those have a specific recipient. It was a specific project I wanted to make, and I found something in stash that matched that project that was perfect for it. So that wasn't really a lucky dip. That was a planned one. But I'm going to continue doing that for the best as long as I have random stash. Like that's 1 bin of yarn. I have about 25 of them and 2 dressers full of yarn. It's when I moved, I realized just how much I had. And since I moved, I've been realizing how much more I have, because there's a really big bin on the floor that's full of random yarn. So I've been trying to stash down some of the older stuff that I don't particularly want for myself, and using it for whatever. So I'm not participating in Kate's Cal for prizes or anything like that. I'm just sharing what I'm working on. But if you want to join a Lucky Dip Cal, head on over to Kate's and sign up there. She's doing it on Instagram mainly, but also on Ravelry. So just check it out and see if that's something you're interested in doing. I also want to find, one of my goals for this year is to knit myself a sweater. Now, I already have the Heart on My Sleeve cardigan by, give me a sec, I'll see who does that. The Heart on Your Sleeve cardigan is by Fiona Ellis. I have that pattern and I have the yarn to make it. I need to find it because Lord knows where it is at this point. It's in a box somewhere. I haven't finished unpacking. I haven't finished moving stuff out of my living room. We're getting there very slowly. So I have the yarn to make that, but that's a very big, heavy cardigan that I'm not going to finish before summer because I haven't even found it yet. And what I would ideally like to do is find a pattern for a t-shirt sweater. And I don't have yarn in my stash for that. I don't have sweater quantities of anything. So the idea is going to be that I'm going to have to find the pattern, buy the yarn, or do some kind of striping or fade with yarn I do have in my stash. We'll figure that out when I find a pattern that I want. And my goal is to make myself a t-shirt, to knit myself a t-shirt that I can wear without dying. Because this is one of only, I think, 4 long sleeve shirts I own. I don't wear them a lot. It was cold today and I was spending some time outside, so I wasn't too worried about, but I always wear them with my sleeves rolled up because I overheat very quickly, especially indoors. I just don't wear long sleeve shirts a lot. And if I'm going to knit something for myself, I'm a pretty big girl and I've got pretty big girls. So whatever sweater pattern I knit has to be in a wide range of sizes. And I don't want something out of heavy yarn. I probably ideally fingering or sport. And we'll see if it's something that I can stripe with things I have in my stash, or if I'm going to have to buy yarn for it. But that is my goal for this year, is to do that, because I've knit myself a tank top, but it was in fairly heavy yarn. And I didn't look at the measurements before I knit it, and it knit about a size down from what I would have thought it was. I knit a 2X size, and it's very tight. Very, very tight, and the straps are too long for me, even though I knit them exactly the size on the pattern. I knit it before I knew how to figure out if things fit properly while I was knitting. I knit it before I really knew how to do measurements on myself, so I've never worn it, and I'm a little sad about that. I kind of want to reclaim the yarn, because I made it out of Barocco Remix, which is a really, really lovely combination yarn. It's got silk, it's got linen, it's got wool, it's got like all kinds of, I think it's got cotton in it. It's like a whole bunch of recycled fibers made into one yarn. So I kind of want to take it apart and reclaim the yarn, but it's not enough to knit anything else with, garment wise, for me. I mean, it might be enough for like one of the heck of the things that Andrea knits herself, like almost like a sports bra type thing, but yeah, ain't gonna happen. So those look really good on Andrea. They would not look really good on me. I'm talking about Andrea, the cat lady. So yeah, she's crocheted herself a couple of those, and they look fabulous on her. They would not look fabulous on me. So that is not a thing I'm going to knit for myself. But that's my big knitting goal for this year, is to be able to do that. I also want to make myself some mitts out of my new acquisition. I'm thinking mitts. When you see my new acquisition, you will see. So that brings me to acquisition. This is Selma's fault, because she actually got herself a skein of not this color, obviously. If any of you watch Selma, you will know this is definitely not a color she would buy. But this is Otweedko in Lucioles is the colorway, Luciole. I'm not sure. Yeah, the label's all in French, so I'm assuming it's a Quebec company. So they have stopped dyeing yarn. And I just happened to find this. Sorry, I know I'm crinkling. Apologies to anybody who has headphones. I'm not trying to crinkle more. I'm just trying to get it out of the bag, which I should have done before I started recording. So I managed to find one skein of it in this beautiful color. Yeah, it's that bright. That's not washed out. It is highlighter yellow with black tweed. It's actually blowing it out a little bit because it's brighter than that. I'm going to try and get a picture for you guys, because this is being blown out quite a bit. It's much, much more saturated than this. And it's not going to pick up the color. Maybe if I... Now even there, it's not coming up as saturated as it is. So this is a low yardage fingering. It's 115 grams and only 348 meters. 84 meters. So it's roughly 400 yards for 115 grams. So it's a slightly lower yardage fingering. But look at how pretty it is. So I think I want to make myself mittens out of this. Car mittens. Because I love it. It's so bright. It's insanely bright. You guys cannot see it. It's coming up yellow. It is highlighter yellow. And I love it. It's so squishy. So this is the first actual skein of yarn I've bought in a while. That's not true because I bought a skein of yarn last February or March to make a hat for somebody. So that was the last skein of yarn I bought. So it's been a year since I bought a full skein of yarn. That's also not true. I bought a skein of yarn while I was at Garden State because we didn't have any knit samples for the booth. And I figured I should at least be knitting with the yarn while I was selling it. So that's where this pair of socks came from. Yeah, everything just, I really need to sort out the lighting in here. Sadly, it has not been a financial priority. There have been a lot of other things to pay for, including a mammogram last week. So, hooray, unexpected medical expenses. So, this is my only new acquisition in the last, not in the last year, but I've bought like 3 skeins of yarn in the last 2-3 years. So I'm not too worried about adding to my stash unnecessarily. I have been knitting up a lot of stuff and getting rid of it, so I have been destashing fairly religiously. And this is, I bought it from Otriko, which is a small yarn shop in Riviere, Loup, Quebec. I ordered online. I've never been to Riviere, Loup. My aunt's late husband was from there, but I've never been there. It's like 8 hours away. Sorry, that's my foot on the footrest. It's not. So I have watched a number of new podcasts since I talked to you guys last. The first one was Marissa Made. The host's name is Kayla. I think Marissa is her middle name or her last name, but she's hilarious. She is so much fun. She's 6 episodes in. I watched number 6. I highly, highly recommend you go check her out. I've been trying to branch out a little bit into podcasters of color, which is why I brought up the Black Sheep Knitter podcast last time I spoke to you. This is another podcaster of color. She is very, very funny, very fun to watch. I highly recommend you go check her out. She's, and her knits, oh my God, you need to see what this woman is working on. It's amazing. I watched Les Garçons. Apparently I'm late to the party because this was episode 11 or 12 of Les Garçons. It's the, what is it called? Happy Hour with Les Garçons. So they have a yarn dyeing company. One of them is a designer. One of them is a yarn dyer. They are a couple. And they are so much fun. I had never heard of them before. I just saw it pop up in recommendations. I watched it. It is insanely long. At least the episode I watched was insanely long. It was an hour and a half. For you to realize that I sat through an hour and a half episode of a podcast in one day, that's how awesome it was. So I very, very highly recommend going to check out Max and Vincent. They are really, really fun. And I'm really hoping I get to meet them someday. They're from Montreal, I believe. Their shop is, I think it's online only, but they also work with a bunch of shops in Montreal. They work a lot with Bien-Aimé, I think. They've been doing patterns for, I don't know. I've only seen the one episode. I need to go back and check out the back catalog. But they are back to podcasting. They had taken a little bit of a break because they were both ill for several months. And yay, COVID. Max had it quite bad and was sick for quite a long time. So I'm very, very glad that they are back to podcasting. I found them extremely entertaining. Go check them out. I watched one episode of Nitty Natty, which is Natalie. I had heard of her before. I'd never watched it before. It just came up in my, I think it was a Scrap Projects episode that she did just before Christmas. So it was either that or some kind of organizing. Oh, yeah. She was organizing all her minis and going through, she's like, I have too many minis. What? That's not a thing. Says the woman who is desperately still searching for her minis. So I have no idea where they've gone. It's kind of insane and very embarrassing that I can't find minis because this is not a huge apartment. But they're likely in a box somewhere. I had them. I remember seeing them since I moved in, so I probably just shoved them in a box somewhere to get them out of the way, and now I can't find them. I'm still looking for them. I will find them. In the meantime, I have a couple of sets of minis that have come my way. I have some leftovers from the butterfly, the papillon shawl, which, by the way, is in Christy's hands now. I mailed it to Christy at Fiber Stash last week. She got it on Friday. She has already blocked it. She's like, okay, this needs to be front and center in the booth at Vogue Knitting Live. So if you're going to Vogue Knitting Live, stop by Christy's booth, go see the pretty shawl, pet the pretty shawl, maybe buy yarn to make the pretty shawl. Go buy yarn. If you're at Vogue Knitting Live, that's what you're there for. Come on. So I really hope that several of you check her out while you're at Vogue Knitting Live. I'm hoping some of you are going to Vogue Knitting Live. I can't because that's the same weekend I'm going away. Plus, New York City is expensive. Very expensive. I looked at going before I realized that it was going to be the same weekend as my trip. Yeah. Hotels in that area are like $250 a night to start. Yikes. The hotel that it's actually being held at is more than that. Ouch. I mean, it's right off Times Square, so of course it's going to be expensive. But I couldn't justify doing that just to go to a yarn festival, especially since I didn't have any money to buy yarn. So I will not be at Vogue Knitting Live, but my papillon shawl will be, so go check it out. The designer is also going to be there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So go see Christy and Matt and pet the shawl and buy yarn to make one for yourself because it's gorgeous. It is so, so pretty. It turned out amazing. The pictures that I took here and what I showed you on the video does not do it justice, especially now that it's blocked and washed and so pretty. Kind of want to make one for me, but I don't wear shawls, which is the whole reason that I was knitting it for Christy, because she really wanted the shawl as a booth sample. And the design, she knows the designer, and the designer really wanted to have a sample out of her yarn and pick the colors. She just didn't want to knit it. And I really wanted to knit the pattern, but I don't wear shawls. So I was like, I can't really justify buying yarn for this. So she was like, hey, I will give you the yarn, knit me a booth sample. And I was like, done! Only took me 2 years. I started it right at the beginning of the pandemic and lost my knitting mojo completely. So when I picked it up again, I think it was just before Christmas. Like it must have been during Vlogmas that I picked it up again. And I was determined to get it done before Vogue Knitting Live. So I actually, as I showed you in my planner, which is actually over here, not over there. Yes, I had a page in my planner that, too much stuff on my desk. I know, you're shocked. So I actually made myself a tracking page so that I had it broken down into workable sections every day. And so that I could keep track of where I was. The pattern is actually very clearly broken up into sections. I would show you, but I'd be giving away part of a paid for pattern, which I don't want to do. Because the pictures that show the progress, like which section is which, is actually on the pattern page. So I can't show you that. But I made myself this little tracker sheet in my planner. And look at the pretty washi tape I used. It's a Van Gogh one I bought. It's so pretty. Washi Tape Shop, by the way. Is the name of the place where I got it. Sorry, trying to close this now. So that's my planner. And so I broke it down into sections because it's a really big pattern. And it's like 15 pages long. It was a little daunting, but I just broke it up into workable sections and was able to get it done in time. I sent it to Christy to block because I couldn't find my blocking mats or my pins. And I wanted her to be able to, I was afraid of ruining it, to be honest. I'm not very well versed with blocking. I've only done it once before. So I didn't want to wreck it. And so I didn't weave in the ends either. I sent it to her with the ends unwoven so that she could wash it, block it, and then weave in the ends. Because when I tried to weave in the ends before it got blocked, it made the stripes wonky on the right side. So I didn't want to do that. I figured it'd be easier for her to do it after it was blocked. It was all good. So it's now washed and blocked and very pretty. And it's going to be at Vogue Knitting Live. And good Lord, I've completely gone off on a massive tangent. I'm so sorry. This episode is going to be insanely long. The last new podcast that I have checked out, he's got 2 episodes up. In 1 week, he went from 400 subscribers to 4,000. I'm talking about Andrew, who is the Albanach knitter. He is a Scottish knitter on the Isle of Arran, Arran, not the Isle of Arran, Aran in Ireland. This is the Isle of Arran, Arran in Scotland, where he has a lot of history. His great-grandparents are buried there. It's a whole thing. Go check out his podcast. He not only talks about his knitting, he's a Baptist minister, I want to say. He's a minister of some sort. I think it's Baptist. Sorry, Andrew. He is also doing bits about the history of the island, the different parts of the island, what you can see if you go there. He went through his ancestors' graves, and it was very, very interesting. As well as the history, the exodus to Canada by a number of community members back in the, I want to say 20s, like right after the First World War. I could be wrong. It could be 100 years before that. I don't honestly remember the dates. I've been knitting while watching it, so I'm not always paying attention to the screen, so I could have the dates completely off base. But yeah, he's been talking about a lot of that, and he does little shorts where he just shows you a little piece of the island, like a beach or an interesting little spot. There was a chapel that was stopped being used. I think that was what stopped being used in the 1920s. That had been there since the 11 or 1200s, 1300s maybe. It's been there a while. We don't have stuff that old in Canada because Canada's not that old. There was nobody putting up structures, permanent structures at that time, so we don't have anything that old. And it's really, really cool. He's a lot of fun to watch, and yeah, go check him out. Give him some love. He has gained a whole heck of a lot of subscribers for a reason. He's very, very good. And he's an awesome knitter. He's funny. He's charming. He's very fun to watch. So that's the Albanach knitter, Albanach knitter. Go check him out. He's very, very nice to watch. So that's about it for me. Sorry, I'm being very repetitive tonight because I'm a little tired and undercaffeinated. And yeah, it's been a long day. So I'm going to say goodnight and let you all go off and do whatever it is you do. And I'm going to go back to doing what it is I do, which is this. And I'm currently watching SWAT on Netflix. It's a series I had never seen before. I love Shamar Moore. He's so pretty. So I've been having a lot of fun watching that. I'm in the late middle of season 2, so I'm around episode 15 of season 2, and I'm very much enjoying it. So I don't know what I'll be watching next, but that's what I'm watching now, with podcasts interspersed when something new pops up on my feed. I will talk to you guys probably in a couple of weeks, and I hope you all have a great time. I'm going to be out of the country for a few days, so have a good time.